Marquez sounds alarm on new MotoGP stability control. Is rider skill being eroded? In a statement that could ignite heated debates across paddocks, fan forums, and boardrooms alike, Marquez, the undisputed showman and title leader of MotoGP, has fired a sharp warning shot over the sport's newest technological leap stability control. This latest feature, integrated into the MotoGP ECU for the 2025 season, has been billed as a major safety advancement. It's not just a minor software tweak or a calibration update. Stability control represents a fundamental shift in how MotoGP machinery behaves at its absolute limits. The system doesn't just monitor wheel spin like traditional traction control.
Welcome to GP Time. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates.
Instead, it measures lateral movement in relation to forward momentum and then decides if and when to intervene, usually by trimming torque during a slide. On paper, it's a brilliant safety net, one designed to prevent the type of vicious high-side crashes that have historically ended seasons or even careers. In the controlled language of MotoGP's tech briefings, it's a complementary measure to traction control aimed at improving rider safety in unpredictable grip scenarios. But for Marquez, the man whose career has been defined by dancing on the knife's edge between disaster and genius, it's something else entirely, the erosion of rider artistry. "It's just easier to ride," Marquez said flatly after testing the new system at both Aragon and Sepang. "The more electronics you add, the less difference the rider can make." Now he fears that variable is shrinking. Marquez's skepticism is rooted in a broader trend he's been observing for years. Modern MotoGP has already been transformed by a wave of engineering innovations, ride height devices that launch bikes like drag racers, aerodynamics that generate downforce through corners, and increasingly sophisticated electronics that manage power delivery. While these systems have made the bikes faster and more predictable, they've also, in Marquez's eyes, stripped away some of the unpredictable magic that once defined wheel-to-wheel combat. He recalls the battles of a decade ago, particularly at venues like Austria's Red Bull Ring, when late-breaking heroics could change the outcome of a race in a heartbeat. Back then, the differences between bikes and the sheer nerve of their riders made every duel feel like a coin toss between brilliance and catastrophe. Creating the kind of battles we had in the past was better, Marquez reflected. Now the rear device and especially the aerodynamics affect a lot when you're riding behind somebody. You cannot brake at the same point. You cannot turn at the same point. For the Spaniard, stability control is just the next step down that path, a well-meaning safety feature that nonetheless risks flattening the competitive landscape, turning what was once a human chess match at 200 miles per hour into something more akin to a video game with driver assists switched on. Of course, not everyone in the paddock shares Marquez's resistance. Advocates for stability control point to MotoGP's brutal history of high-side crashes, the kind where the rear tire suddenly regains grip mid-slide, launching the rider skyward with bone-snapping violence. Traditional traction control mitigates some of that risk, but its reaction window is limited. Stability control, by analyzing sideways drift in real time, promises to predict and prevent the worst-case scenarios before they unfold. From a manufacturer's perspective, the argument is simple. Fewer injuries mean more consistent rider participation, which means better show continuity for fans and sponsors alike. Marquez isn't blind to that logic. But he's also quick to point out that safety is often a matter of perspective. If it's safety or not, every manufacturer has a different point of view, he noted, hinting that competitive advantage often lurks beneath the banner of safety improvements. The debate over stability control is unfolding against the backdrop of an impending overhaul to MotoGP regulations in 2027. The move to 850cc engines will come hand in hand with restrictions on ride height devices and aerodynamic components, a shift many see as an attempt to roll back some of the technological arms race and put more of the spotlight back on rider input. Whether those changes will be enough to restore the sport's raw, unpredictable edge remains an open question. Marquez, ever the purist, is cautiously hopeful, but far from convinced. For now, he'll face the immediate challenge of adapting to stability control as he chases what could be a record-breaking 10th consecutive win at the Red Bull Ring, a track where his mastery of bike control has often been his deadliest weapon. And as the lights go out in Austria, the sport will once again hold its breath, not just to see if Marquez wins, but to see whether the man who has built his legacy on instinct and feel can still impose his will in a world increasingly mediated by algorithms. because in the end, that is the real question hanging over MotoGP's future. Will it remain a stage for gladiators, or will it become a contest of engineers? Marc Marquez has conquered nearly every track on the MotoGP calendar, but there's one glaring omission on his resume: the Red Bull Ring. The Austrian Grand Prix, a power track dominated in recent years by Ducati muscle, has been a stubborn holdout for the Spanish superstar. From 2017 to 2019, Marquez finished runner-up in Austria 3 years straight, twice losing to Andrea Dovizioso and once to Jorge Lorenzo, both on factory Ducatis. Each time the battle went to the final laps, with Marquez coming heartbreakingly close to victory only to watch the scarlet missile of Bologna blast past before the finish line. Since then, Austria has been less kind. Marquez hasn't stood on the podium at Spielberg since that 2019 race, with injuries and bike struggles in the Honda years keeping him out of contention. But this year, everything is different. He's no longer chasing Ducati, he's riding one. And not just any Ducati, but the GP25, the most dominant machine on the grid. Arriving from the summer break with an imposing 120-point lead over his closest challenger, his own brother, Alex Marquez, the 8-time world champion is chasing his 9th victory of the season. It was super close for many years here in Austria, Marquez reflected on Thursday. I always lose against red bikes with the amazing Dovizioso and amazing Lorenzo, but now I'm riding that red bike. So let's see if we can fight for the victory. While Marquez enjoys a championship cushion most riders can only dream about, he's fully aware that big advantages can also breed big mistakes. Of course, starting the second part of the season with a 120-point advantage, the only one that can lose the championship is you, he admitted. I will need to control myself in some races because you cannot be the fastest out there in every session, every practice, and every race. The Red Bull Ring may be the perfect test of that discipline. It's a stop-start circuit where hard braking, acceleration, and straight-line speed rule the day, a place where Ducati has reigned supreme. And while Marquez is looking to make history here, there's one man who won't make it easy: teammate Francesco Pecco Bagnaia. For fans, this weekend has all the ingredients of a blockbuster Marquez chasing his first Austrian win, Bagnaia trying to defend his fortress, and Ducati poised for another dominant performance on home turf for Red Bull. The question is whether Austria will see a tense intra-team showdown or another chapter in Marquez's 2025 steamroller season. Either way, the Red Bull Ring, with its postcard alpine backdrop and heart-stopping final corner, looks set to deliver drama. Marquez knows history is within reach. Bagnaia knows redemption is on the line. And both know that in Austria, victory often comes down to who's boldest on the brakes with 2 laps to go. This weekend, the red bikes will be at the front, but which one crosses the line first is anyone's guess.